coming up on this week's episode of the HCA Tech Talk podcast.
So I was in the Royal Air Force as an electronic engineer, apprentice initially. I did 13 years in the RAF working on Tornado and Jaguar aircraft. So I did 3 years on Tornadoes, 9 years on Jaguars. Yeah, so basically a lot of smart home solutions, they're aimed at the AV side of things, whereas Niko is aimed at the electrical backbone of the installation. So lighting, heating, ventilation, shading control. But this is it, we expect it from the automotive industry. We expect lights to come on when it goes dark or when you go in a tunnel. You expect the wipers to start when it starts raining. You expect the ABS to kick in when you hit the brakes too hard. These are all things standard in the automotive industry. We need to bring homes to that level.
Thinking of building your dream home cinema? Don't know where to start? Start with the HCA. At the Home Cinema Alliance, we connect homeowners with the very best in the business. Our members are trusted designers, installers and technology experts who know how to turn any room into a breathtaking cinematic experience. Whether you're building from scratch or converting a spare room, our members are here to help you every step of the way. Visit our website to find your local member at homecinemalliance.co.uk.
So, hi Andy, thanks for taking the time to meet up with me today and sit down having a chat about yourself and a bit about Moss Tech. So, first of all, where are we based? We're in South Wales, very long drive this morning, a bit bleary-eyed. So just so people know roughly where you are located in the Great United Kingdom, whereabouts are you?
So we're just off the M4 corridor, halfway between Cardiff and Swansea, so a little village called Pyle. So we're just on the South Wales coast. So
I think it was about an hour from the bridge this morning, really, wasn't it, roughly?
Yeah, the bridge, to be honest with you, I mean, Swindon, hour and a half, Bristol, 45 minutes, so it's not too bad, to be fine.
Not too bad of the mainland.
No. I mean, London's 2.5 hours, so it's not too bad.
I got to say, actually, it was leaving at stupid o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
And it's a Friday, so it was a lovely drive up.
Yeah.
I think I said to you, I literally stopped at the end of my road to turn right, and then it was literally just all the way here, which was amazing for the M25 and the M4 corridor.
Best time to travel. I do it all the time. Hit the road early, get there nice and fresh.
Yeah, I know you are an early riser like me. Prefer the morning hours.
Morning hours on the road, you miss all the traffic, and in the office early because you can get more done between 5:30 and 8 than you can in the rest of the day combined. Yeah.
Although it does when you do get to like 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I don't know if it's age or just that we work.
I think that's age. Yeah, it's starting to catch up a bit.
So with these sort of like sit down conversations that we've been doing, I've been liking to sort of get to know a bit about the person, a bit about the history of the company, how the person got into the industry, and then sort of like then, now, and in the future.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about Andy. Tell me a bit about how you started out, really, fresh out of college or university.
Yeah.
Take us way back. Not saying you're old. Take us way back.
Well, I am old, but yeah. Went to school, started college, but joined the RAF at 17. So I was in the Royal Air Force as an electronic engineer, apprentice initially. I did 13 years in the RAF working on Tornado and Jaguar aircraft. So I did 3 years on Tornadoes, 9 years on Jaguars. And in between that, there was some further training, and always had aspirations to be my own boss and just run a business. So I left the RAF in 2000. I started the business actually a little before then, started it in 1998 as a one-man band electrician, just working evenings and weekends. And just really loved the fact that you could do a small job for a little old lady, put a power back on, and the gratitude and turning up on time and just that level of appreciation just really stuck with me. And plenty of jobs, certainly for the older folk. You don't really want to charge them, to be honest. So I mean, I got paid in runner beans once, and it doesn't pay the bills, but it's just a nice feeling to know that somebody's just appreciated your service, and it sort of grew from there, really. So yeah.
So was that back then? Was that so you were still in the RAF for a couple of years?
Yeah.
Doing what I've said to a few people that I know within this industry, which was like, try and do something on the side to build up a little bit before you cut the cord and jump over.
Exactly, and I think being in the forces, I was, and I'll be the first to admit I was probably institutionalized. I didn't know what a P60 was. Everything's pretty much done for you. So although you're at the, the upper echelons of your technical trade, and right up there with technical ability and everything, you're sheltered, you go to the mess for food, you're given your uniform, all you've got to do is sort of press and iron it and things like that. So the outside world and what we call Civvy Street was just complete alien to me. And of course, when you paid that guaranteed, monthly pay every month come what may, it's a lot to give up on the hope that you can fill that void. And to be fair, doing it side by side was a real sort of, it was sort of testing the water with one foot, not both feet. But what I found was that the qualities and the DNA that was in me with the RAF, that punctuality, reliability, attention to detail that's instilled in you, and it has to be working on aircraft. You can't just pull an aircraft over at the side of the road if there's a problem. It crashes, simple as that. So you have that attention to detail, and that becomes your DNA. So you take that into Civvy Street, and customers love that. Yeah. You say you're going to be somewhere at 8 o'clock, you turn up at 5:02. And even if you're going to be there at 1:45, you phone the client and you say, I'm running early. Is it convenient, or would you like me to wait a little? And I'd even phone, I'd even phone from the traffic lights at the end of the street if it was going to put me sort of 30 seconds late. And so word of mouth then gets round, and sure enough, the work came flooding in to the point at which something had to give.
I think that's it. You especially as you say, your little old ladies, they love that. You turn up on time if not early. I mean, I was in retail years ago, and one thing they always drummed into us, this was at Victoria Wine, one thing they always drummed into us was that for every person you give good service to, they'll tell one other person. Yeah. For every person you give bad service to, they'll tell 24 other people. Yeah. So that little old lady who you turned up 5 minutes early to, and you did a good job for her. Yeah. And paid in runner beans. You don't want to tell her best friend that, but then sort of, especially for an electrician, that sort of thing,
But I've always found, and even at the start, when we started installing, I was doing basic electrics and alarms and CCTV, and the level of kit that I wanted to install, the local wholesaler, he was only selling, the cheaper end of the market, and I said, no, I want to install this, and he said, you'll never sell it, it's too expensive, but it was the much better quality at the time. I'm not going to mention brands. I don't think the brand's around anymore, but it was an alarm panel, and it's what I did my training on when I left the RAF. Okay. And sure enough, I'm like, you need to put another 10 of those on the shelf, this, that, and the other. And I felt then that competing on quality and not price, I've always said we're not the cheapest. And when we don't want to be the cheapest, because there's only one thing that gives then, and that's quality. If you're cutting corners, to be able to achieve something within a time scale that you've priced for, you have to cut corners, and we won't do that. So
I think you end up getting into. I mean, I've been there as well with my other business, which was, a client will phone you. I've even had a client show me other people's quotes. Will you match this? No. Why? Don't you want the job? I want the job, but this is my price for the professional work I do.
Exactly.
If I match their price, I'm just doing you a price.
Yeah, you're not going to compare a Claridge's bill at the end of a meal with a Wagamama's, for instance. Do you know what I mean? It's or whatever other restaurant you go to, because you're paying for that dish, aren't you? So,
and unfortunately, sometimes you do find the people that go down that route, they end up learning to regret it at the end of the day. But maybe if they're selling their household, they don't really bother. So obviously this was the early noughties, as they are commonly known. So were you Moss Tech at that point, or were you?
So we became Moss. So we were Moss. I was Moss Electrical, and then when I was in the RAF overlapping, I then felt that the name wasn't quite right, because we were doing more alarms and CCTV. So we became Moss Technical. And it was Moss Technical Services, and then it became Moss Technical Services Limited. And we were doing everything from, we had to start employing because, of course, we became too busy, and I needed help. So we grew the business then, and we became quite large. We had large contracts with a large house builder, doing new build sites and things like that. And of course, then the recession hit. So and we took a bit of a knock. So
was that 2007,
yeah,
2008, wasn't it? Yeah. I literally just sold my house. So
Had you?
yeah. Funnily enough, I literally just sold the house. We were going to buy another house.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, my wife lost her best friend in 2004. So we actually decided to go to rented for a while, whilst I set up the business and my wife changed her job. Yeah, in hindsight, that was brilliant after seeing the recession.
Yeah.
So when were you, was Nikki working for you then? Were you here? I mean, obviously we were in this, your new showroom, which we've come up to do the launch for and do some stuff around. So was Nikki working for you then? Were you in this building at that point?
Not initially full time. She was doing my accounts and things like that, and
your wife doing
VAT.
your accounts?
Well,
never.
well, Nikki was in employment, but then she came working for us. But then in 2008, she got a phone call saying her best friend's got breast cancer. And so in 2008, just as everything was going wrong, with the world and the recession, she then moved up north to look after her. And sadly, a few months later, in 2009, she died. But of course, I think that meant that because we'd sort of nearly lost everything when this large house builder went pop on us, I was then able to just literally throw myself into work to survive, really, and we have done. We've come through it. We took a huge knock financially, but we paid all our creditors off. We came through it because I didn't want to be one of those that, you got took for money, so a lot of people, they'll fold their business, and of course that kills other people off, and I wouldn't do that. So we fought through it, but Nikki's friend, sadly passing away, gave Nikki the drive and the determination to be able to help others that are going through.
I was going to say, because she's got Cost for Cancer, isn't she? Which is her charity.
Yeah, so Nikki founded Cost of Cancer, which is a charity that pays people's bills while they go through treatment. Costofcancer.org.uk. So she's helping families nationwide, really. They apply for financial help and bills. Nikki will assess it with her trustees and issue grants to help pay bills and rent, rates, energy, things like that, while they go through treatment, because a lot of people can't work. So so even though we suffered really badly in 2008, something really good has come out of it. So yeah.
Well, I think sometimes also it's just like, I've never been a very religious person, but I do believe we doubt opportunities in our life. And I think that sometimes things like the recession, things like COVID, I think there's things taken from COVID recently. There's things that we never would have done before COVID. Zoom calls. Things like that, video podcasts which are remote, things like that.
Yeah.
Those things that you wouldn't have done, but I think things like that recession back then, sometimes they just refocus. And unfortunately, I've lost friends in my life to cancer, and actually what Nikki's done out of that has been brilliant. Learning that off of her here, and then doing a little video for her, which we put up of her talking about it, which she absolutely loves doing.
She
especially
does,
on camera.
Especially on camera,
Thank God for B-roll.
Yeah.
So that obviously brings us into 2010 and beyond. So obviously at that point, recession had happened, finding your feet again. At that point, was it just a few of you doing it? Were you here? What was the aspirations for the teens?
So we had we just moved into the unit where we are now. We started when the recession hit. We found that all the electricians that were on sites, they came into our world of domestic private installations, and so the market was then all of a sudden flooded. And of course, you're then competing on price. So we then looked to diversify, and we started doing smart home installs, primarily lighting control with a product called Niko Bus. And Niko at the time had a UK office in Fancott that we were dealing with, and but that office was closed in 2011, and we approached Niko about becoming the UK distributor, and that's where we are now.
Before we get on to the new showroom you've got here, did you have training showroom facilities here before?
We did, yes. So we trained electricians and installers to install Niko Bus and then on to Niko Home Control as it is now. What we found with lockdown and COVID is obviously people couldn't travel for training, so the training then became virtual. So the training room that we had here, this showroom environment, became a little bit sort of tired, a little bit of a dumping ground, needed a refresh. Because of course people weren't really coming to the office anymore. People had got out of that habit of travelling because of course they were used to doing Teams calls and things. And then obviously I got a phone call from Nikki saying, I've had an idea, and which usually means sort of spending money. So yeah, she said, I want to do the showroom. And I don't think she realised that, I'd be totally embracing of where we've took it. I think she thought it was going to be like a refresh, a repaint, but it turned out to be a complete rebuild.
So what was in this space before? We'll cut to a bit of B-roll of the room.
Yeah.
But so obviously in here now you've got the multi-purpose room with the toilets and that at the end.
Yeah.
Was this space defined before as it is?
It was. It's the same. We weren't able to move the walls, unfortunately, but it was primarily a large projector screen at one end, a boardroom table in the middle, effectively, that we did training on, and there was product in here, there was training desks and things like that, but it wasn't really quite right. It was more of a Niko training area, purely Niko, but it wasn't the sort of thing you could bring clients into or architects into. So it gave great hands-on training to installers, but like I say, it just wasn't really front of house like we have it today.
So tell me a bit about Niko as in the product. I know of Niko, but it wasn't until obviously the opening and having a play and recording lots of content of you talking about Niko, that I sort of got to look at the product and go, oh, do you know what? Actually, it's quite a good sort of BMS type product. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Niko, how it fits in with an electrician's, everyday world.
Yeah, so basically a lot of smart home solutions, they're aimed at the AV side of things, whereas Niko is aimed at the electrical backbone of the installation. So lighting, heating, ventilation, shading control, pretty much a standard. There's other partner brands that integrate with it for energy management, HVAC control, music integration. So there's lots of partner brand integrations. We have a driver for Control 4 and also NICE, which was Elan. So we can basically integrate with anything now to really sort of compete with the Crestrons and Lutrons and Control 4s, out there. So yeah, primarily lighting control, a standard. Heating comes a standard with that as well, because of course the switches have got built-in thermostats and humidity sensors. Really easy to install. So it's something that any electrician can just get into, really. There's a lot of very good electricians out there, but they're a little bit nervous about getting into the industry. So what they tend to do is sort of pick up retrofit type brands and that are nice and easy plug and play. But if they take a look at Niko, they'll see how easy it actually is. The software is super intuitive. You can't really go wrong with the installation, the way that it's wired. Complete free topology of the bus. Very, very forgiving if you've forgotten a cable and this, that and the other. So lots of workarounds. Because we've installed it in the past and because we're electricians, we talk the same language as electricians. Yeah. So when they've got a problem, I've been there with a client breathing down your neck. I've been there sort of trying to overcome these little solutions. So that's where I think we sort of stand out in the industry, the fact that we've got that level of experience to be able to help installers. Well,
I think when we were doing the recording the other day of the opening, you were like, hold on a second, I just need to take this. And I'm messing around with the cameras and you're in the background talking to someone and okay, so have you tried this? Have you tried that? As you say, it's good to know the product. So going back to the light switches, so they've got a thermostatic sensor in them, have they?
And a humidity sensor.
Okay, that's interesting, actually, because I didn't know that, because we've dealt with another brand beginning with P, or PD, that does that, and I thought that was one of the only options where you could have that thermostat in the light switch in the room?
So the light switch is built-in thermostat and humidity sensor. The digital black, which is the small little screen, that's got a thermostat built into it. It's not the humidity sensor. But yeah, it just means that you've got much less on the wall, because the first thing that architects do when they photograph a room is they'll Photoshop out the switches, you know, because and the wall acne, as we call it, you know, the thermostat and things like that. So they don't want to see these things. So why have a separate thermostat? Because of course that's extra wiring, it's extra cost. It's sometimes ugly on the wall. Whereas if it can all be built into the switch itself, then great.
Well, the digital black, when we were shooting some B-roll of that the other day, was that I think you took your phone out your pocket and you done a couple of little things on the phone to change its layout,
yeah.
And boom, it was there.
Yeah.
And you know, and as a Control 4 dealer myself, I'm like, oh, that's really good. I would have had to get the laptop out to do that. And as you say, one of the successes we've had, we don't do a lot of lighting in the other business because we are mainly cinema rooms. But when we have done lighting before, the whole wall acne thing, and saying to the client, well, actually, what it means if you have this system means you don't have to have this, and this, which means you have less clutter on your wall. And then that sort of interior design focus brain comes out. What do you mean I don't have to have all those switches? No, you don't. You just have this one, and that will do everything for you.
And that's the key, isn't it? You know, you've also got the saving on the install. You've got the saving on not having to have the extra thermostat and things like that on the wall. So and buy that, you know, so that there are these little cost savings as well. So it value engineers it straight away.
So do you find when you're on projects, I suppose one thing I found over the years is that you almost become a bit of a conductor. So you go in to do the electrics and maybe a bit of BMS, but then you stand in those meetings with those clients, and the plumber might be there, you know, the HVAC guy might be there, the builder might be there, and you say, well, guys, actually, we could do this together via this. What are you installing? And then you can bring it all together.
You do find that you become kingpin on the projects because there's so many elements that you're controlling that, you know, they need to liaise with you. They can't just do their own thing, you know, otherwise they end up putting their own controls in and it doesn't integrate. So you often find that you become front and center with orchestrating that. And I think you do have to be a little bit sort of, like you say, a conductor to make sure it all sort of runs smoothly. And I would say with anybody trying to get into the industry, you know, a lot of electricians who are practicing at the moment, they go to site, they pull the cables, they do the job, they go home. They go to site, they pull the cables, they go home. Whereas with in the smart home industry, you have to make time for the admin, you know, the communication with the other trades and things like that. Because if not, then, you know, you're at the end of the project and something's not quite working on the heating side of things, and the heating guy says, well, phone Niko, it's you know, or phone the installer because they're controlling it. Well, you know, we often find that we do quite a bit of support and fault finding for things that, you know, naturally somebody blames the smart home solution for, but it turns out to be moisture ingress in an outside light. You know, why are the outside lights tripping? Well, it's because you got moisture ingress, not because of the control side of it. So you do have to keep your finger on the pulse throughout the project. And I would always say, you know, you do have to factor in that element of design and communication with the project and project management for that matter.
I mean, it strikes me as a good little system for, as you say, for the electricians to jump into, because, you know, I've seen it, you know, the aerial satellite guys coming more into the smart home market. You know, nearly 20 years I've been doing this now. The electricians coming more into smart home market, and I think it's actually a good stepping block because you're not going from, I don't know, electricians into Crestron or electricians into Control 4, which is a massive jump. You know, you're going into a system which fundamentally is the same. It may well just be centrally wired rather than being wired traditionally. What's the light switches? Are they on a bus cable?
They're a bus cable.
They're a bus cable,
26 volt DC, they can go on the wall inside the bathroom. Of course, because then they can read the humidity and what have you as well. So yeah. And
are they daisy chained together?
Daisy chain, free topology, star wired, do whatever you want with it really. Okay. So you know, in my house when we converted it during lockdown, I joined onto the end of the twin and earth cable above the ceiling, and that became my bus wire. So I didn't have to chase the wall. So yeah, you can use any cable.
And I think, we'll cut to a little shot, but like there's a switch down beside me here, which lovely matches in with Cinema Build Systems bronze there. And actually, they're really nice looking switches. So you sometimes have, I found in projects, someone's gone out and found a really nice looking switch, but then the Euro module one that goes with it doesn't quite fit, or the outside may be glass, let's say for instance, but then you're using your black or white Triax modules for another brand, or anti-ferrets. We're actually looking down at this little one down here.
They match.
It is beautifully matched, and then can be, accented to features like this into the fabric. I think that's a really, really good thing for the product. I think, even if we said the other day was, even if you are a smart home installer, an AV guy now, it's definitely worth looking at. Because I think it's a good little product. And I think that, as you say, when you're on site, I think you used it brilliantly. I've got a really good friend of mine, James. I've known him ever since the Sony days. He used to be a assistant manager for Sony. He's become an electrician. He will happily, and he said to me, I'll happily go to site, I'll happily pull the cables, and I'll happily go home. And I think the thing is, being in this side of the fence, we assume that everybody knows about this side of the fence. But it's amazing how many people who are traditional plumbers, traditional electricians even, don't really know that it can be pulled together on one system.
No. They a lot of them, they want to stay in that little safe zone, which is fine because of the fear of going into smart technology, but it doesn't have to be complicated, And again, the beauty is it lends itself to the electrical installation really well, but equally commercially, full smart home integration. We've done some really big projects with DALI control, with BMS integration, with full on AV as well, integrating via Control 4.
I'd say it integrates Control 4 because we've got a Core 3 back there.
There's a Core 3 control in this room. So and the Core 3 is pulling it all together. So for instance, the TV distribution, we've got HD Anywhere in here. So we've got 3 TVs as if it's 3 different rooms. That's being distributed via a matrix, HD Anywhere matrix, 4x4. We've also got Sonos integrated in here. So we've got 2 levels of home theatre. We've got the Marantz AVR with Amina speakers for the surrounds and the height speakers, and Gallo Acoustics Profile 3.5s for the fronts. And again, we've also got the Sonos solution as well. The Sonos, it's a Dolby Atmos 9.1.4 with an Arc Ultra Era 300s and a sub. So we've got different options to be able to show off, but like I said, the driver for Control 4 just pulls all this together.
So tell me a little bit about, so obviously this is 2025, aren't we?
Yes.
I'm already starting to think about 2026. I made the mistake of mentioning Christmas on the podcast the other day, and Simon didn't take that very happily. But it's nearly September. But so this is just opened. We're in 2025. So in this system here, or in the showroom here, beside me here, you say you've got LG TV with Amina, Sonos, Gallo, Marantz, all distributed by HD Anywhere, Control Viper, Control 4. Towards the back of the room, obviously we've got the Niko set out with the DIN rail cabinet, with a bit of control and a bit of garden audio, as well as blinds. Do you do much with blinds? Because that's something, I think, another thing, like we go back to our wall acne, I think another thing a lot of clients don't realise is actually relatively simple to do. And with thermal gain, with heat, and actually not just being something that blacks out the room, but also stops heat from coming into the room.
And being able to integrate the room temperature with your blinds and things like that via the switches, to automatically close them or open your skylights if the temperature gets above a certain level. We work with Appeal Group, Appeal Blinds, and they absolutely love the level of control. The fact that when you're away from the property, the shading, the blinds can close at sunset and open at sunrise, but it can be staggered as if you've gone around the house and done it yourself for a present simulation. So being able to integrate these things and also have that level of automation is second nature. But equally, a lot of clients, I always say the most expensive cable you'll ever pull is the one you forget to pull at the start. So put a cable to each window. you know, and then you've got that future-proofability there. So, you know, there's lots of things we can do.
Well, I think you've touched on it there with simulated occupancy. I think I've always said to clients myself, it's like, I'm not a massive fan of alarms, whether that be car alarms or house alarms, because when was the last time you walked past a house, the alarm's going on, oh, I better call the police. You're more likely to go,
it's a false alarm.
It's a false alarm, or walk on past, not my problem.
Yeah.
So, you know,
making the house look lived in.
Yeah. So if, you know, they say, no, was it 95% of thefts or 99% of thefts are opportunist. You know, it is something is presented to someone that will do something there and then. And I think that if you've got a row of 5 houses and you're in number 3 and someone's just standing at the bottom of your driveway and they've been scoping it out, let's say for a few days, and the lights have come on and off but at different times, blinds have opened and closed at different times. And they may see a couple of big old CCTV cameras with the big old IR ring. They're just going to walk on.
Yeah. We walked through the Cotswolds. We went for a lovely walk in the Cotswolds, and there was next to this field there was an amazing property. And straight away, Nikki said, "Oh, that's a holiday let." And the giveaway was all the blinds were closed in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
You know, it's obviously somebody's holiday home or holiday let or whatever, and it was just, you might as well said, "Come and break in." Not that we did.
No. And a lovely TV. The amount of times, I've walked up the road with the dog where we live, and I've gone, oh, you know, Sue and Bob are away. My wife will say, how do you know that? I said, well, the blind's halfway down the lounge and the hallway light's on at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's like they've just gone away. And it's like they don't realise that it's so simple to do, especially with a system like Niko, that you're going to potentially put electrical in your house. Well, you're not going to potentially, you are going to be putting electrical in your house anyway. It's really simple.
But this is it, we expect it from the automotive industry. We expect lights to come on when it goes dark or when you go in a tunnel. You expect the wipers to start when it starts raining. You expect the ABS to kick in when you hit the brakes too hard. These are all things standard in the automotive industry. We need to bring homes to that level. It's like going from a Nokia 6310i to an iPhone. You know.
What, you mean the battery lasted for a week and now it lasts about 3 hours?
Well, yeah, there is that. But what it'll do for you, you know, you ask any people who've made that switch in the past from analog to iPhone, would they go back? Well, no, they wouldn't. So. And
also, like, you've got a great simulation in the ladies' toilets at the back there, which is another brilliant one. Whereas if you go in like now and turn the light on, it will all come on. But if you go in at 3 o'clock in the morning, just the accent lights will come on, so you're not blinded by light, which is then resetting your Cascadia river to make your body think that it's now awake at 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's
so there's 4 lighting circuits in each of the toilets, you know, to create different effects and moods, you know. So
So for the end consumer, they can book here. Website is mostech.co.uk.
Mostech.co.uk and homecontrol.uk.com.
Okay.
So the homecontrol.uk.com is our smart home Niko distribution side, but mostech.co.uk is also the electrical side of the business as well. So we are NICIC approved practicing electricians. And of course we do get involved in custom install work, working alongside electricians. You know, if the electrician isn't trained or they're a bit nervous about doing certain elements of it, then we'll work with them so that they can deliver this project for their client.
So as Moss Technical, if a client watches this and thinks, oh, I'm doing a local job or I'm doing a job locally, is that something that you get involved with directly yourselves as Moss Tech? Yeah.
Sometimes it depends. If we've got another trained installer in the area, then we can put them in touch. A lot of the time in the UK, you know, of course, they've got their own favoured electrician. It might be a family member or a friend. It might be the builder's electrician. So what we'll do is we'll do the design with the client because, of course, you know, I firmly believe that the client needs to get the most out of, the best value out of the installation. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated because, like, your washing machine's got 30 different cycles and you probably use 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah.
You know, but there are certain enhancements to a design that doesn't cost anything, but it suddenly gives extra value. And so we can promote that and help promote that to the client and explain that. We can produce a cable schedule for the electrician. the electrician does all the cabling and what have you, but we could do an off-site panel build for them, for instance. So we can assemble the panel, ship it out to them, and they just connect A to A, B to B, C to C, and then we can program and commission it. So we're working together with them and helping them. But in doing so, they're then exposed to the possibilities of Niko, but then we'll offer them training as well, so that they can then take it thereafter, you know, because then they're not testing the water with both feet. They're working alongside, you know, a company that that knows what they're doing, is taking the responsibility for it and delivering it to the client, and helping instruct them along the way. So yeah, and there's a lot of installers, they'll say, do you know what, yeah, I'm interested in training. You know, I really want to get into this industry, and now I can see a route in. So that's where I think we probably, you know, stand out a little bit.
I think you're right, because I mean, now I'm the grand old age of 50. My knees
Youngster.
my knees are hurting more, and actually I've worked with a couple of installers recently who both say they've got 10 years on me.
Yeah.
And actually I've now changed my way of thinking in respects of actually a little bit like that, which is like, well, actually, hold on a second, I could design the cinema for you, we could do all of that for you, we could charge you for the drawings, and all, but actually you do it, or your electrician could wire for it, but just follow our location plans and follow our drawings. Where the last 20 years, I've almost been like, you know, my precious, my ring, it's my job. Yeah, you know, get away. I don't want you in my room. You know, I'm going to cut all the speakers out.
But it doesn't have to be rocket science, you know. And I think that's what COVID did for us. That's what lockdown did for us. It forced everyone to use that level of technology. So now it's perfectly accepted to do a design on a Teams call or a Zoom call, and to support people remotely. People are, you know, we've got remote support software in, where I can just go on a web portal and be helping a client just when they enter a code on their laptop. Simple as that, as if I'm there. You know, and we also have other installations where I can just log in remotely, no problem. And again, this is all dependent on what the client's needs are. You know, we've done projects. A recent one that we actually won an award at the Smart Building Awards last year was seahorses. Now that's a large property on the South Cornwall coast, which featured in the O'May's Prize draws.
Okay.
And that was, you know, 4.5 hour drive away, but we were able to deliver that, and we probably had about 3 or 4 visits to site, and that was it. You know, working with the local electrician. So these things are all possible, you know, with technology we've got available to us today.
So, touching on Niko, you are obviously the UK distributor for Niko, and one of the reasons you obviously built the showroom here is the trade facilities that sit behind you.
Yeah.
So, tell us how you can help. Let's say we've got someone who's looking at Niko, they want to be supplied Niko products, and let's say they're up, I don't know, in Leeds or somewhere like that. So they can buy it from you, they can come down here for training, and they could buy it from you at a distributor, as a installer price.
Yeah. So we don't sell to end users, we don't sell to non-trained installers, you know, because the first thing that happens then is they're straight on the phone saying, I need help. And when something doesn't work, they blame the product when it's possibly installed incorrectly. So we insist on training. The training is a 3-day training course, which you'll cover everything from basic design of an installation all the way up to, you know, advanced programming, conditions, time schedules, and things like that. We only train 2 people at a time. We've got 2 training desks, and the reason we do that is because then we can give more personal one-on-one, one-on-two type training. And they have got their own training desk. They'll build their own panel, they'll program it. But so effectively in this building, we've obviously got the Niko installation that's controlling the rest of the building, the BMS and all of that side of things. There's the Niko installation for the showroom, but each training desk is its own Niko installation as well. So it's like effectively like its own house. So they'll select the controls, they'll program the controls, they'll learn all about the products and how to assemble it. And then also how to get best value out of it. There are certain things that you can do that, like I say, it's sort of clever little touches that don't necessarily need to cost anything. And like I say, a lot of installers, they've already been exposed to Niko Home Control because they've worked perhaps with us on a project that, we'll meet the client at a trade show. The client will say to the electrician, I really like Niko, I want you to install it. it's client led, client driven. So we do B2B shows, B2C shows, and things like that. So.
And the training is CDIA accredited, isn't it?
CDIA accredited training, yeah. So they'll get CEU points. So we've got the training accredited by CDIA. So it goes towards the CDIA certification. And we can also, host CPDs and things like that with architects as well. So, it's all about brand awareness and awareness of the possibilities, really,
And do Niko because I know like a lot of the brands that Colin at Gallo do a nice little case.
Yeah.
So once they've done the training and they've been an accredited installer, do they get the ability to purchase a demo case that they can show their clients, finishes and things like that?
Yeah, they do, and we've had our own made specifically for the UK. Niko have obviously got them available, but of course, being a European brand, it's got the European sockets in and things like that. And but it's more about the finishes rather than the actual smart element of it. So we've created our own training case for the UK, not training case, sorry, our own sample case, demo case, which has got the switches in, and it's got the digital black in it, and it's got motion sensors in there as well, as so you can actually see how the buttons go on the PCBs and things like that as well. So it's quite a practical case, as well as obviously having all the finishes in it.
Well, I think it's like if we take it back into the AV world and we take it back to our friend Roddy, for a client to be able to touch this.
You've got to be able to, yeah.
And like with the bronze here, I mean, we're doing a job at the moment, which is we're doing the tracking the metal in it. And it says to the client, well, we've got a bronze, and then we've got a slightly darker sort of antique bronze. Because you've got to show it to the client.
You do, yeah.
And the client wants to hold it, feel it, look at it, touch it. Yeah. Do we do like the hug fabric, or do we do the wall fabric in this case? And I think it's more tactile. So to have that, those sockets to go, which colour do you prefer, and actually hold it up on the wall and go, oh, I like the look of that. Helps you sell every day.
And we've just added a media wall in our stand at Swindon, the National Self-Build and Renovation Centre, which is just off junction 16 of the M4, and we felt that really needed this type of finish. So as you can see, the hug here, and we've got the fabric. But we've done that there as well, so people can go there also.
So going back to the Moss Tech side of the business, you alluded there to the show, which you phoned me from yesterday. Fest all out, dusting your hair and all that lot. Always takes twice as long as you think it's going to take. So what do you see sort of like 2026 and beyond with Moss Tech? Obviously you've got that, you've nearly got that finished. When you leave me, you go back there and finish it off. And you've obviously got the new showroom here. What do you perceive as going forward, let's say to 2030 and beyond, as far as you can see?
There definitely needs to be an awareness of the possibilities of smart home. There's a lot of retrofit brands on the market, that are all wireless, and they work, but they're more of there's a lot of DIY products, and if there's an issue, then they stop working together. So we're planning on really focusing on the brand, on not so much the brand awareness, but the possibilities of smart home, and that level of integration. I'd like to contact CD. I've got the initiative to go into schools and inspire the youngsters. We have a couple of really good local colleges, electrical colleges, engineering colleges. So we're going to be approaching those to be able to deliver this this training, this introduction, and of course, we've got the centre here or the showroom here to be able to say, look, come and have a look, come and have a play with the modules, have a go at programming, make a light work off a switch, create a scene, create a mood, because a lot of youngsters, they love this level of technology, and it's the future. There is a real skill shortage, so awareness of the possibilities for architects, builders, youngsters, clients. That's our focus for the next few years now.
Well, I think you're right in touching on, in respects of, I won't say the names because it will trigger everywhere, but like the Amazon A and the Apple S and the Google, whatever they call it these days, I think they've got the advertising budgets to really blow the market out. And a lot of people think that, an Amazon hub with a set of, Philips Hue light bulbs, that's the best thing going. But they don't realise there is so much more that they could do, and there's actually so much more that a cost-efficient, decent system will do. I've got some Philips Hue in my house the other day. We had that funny little power cut where it goes out for like 10 seconds. But of course, what happens is all the lights come on. Now, if you're on holiday and it does that, they're going to stay on until you've either got something built in to say turn off. Where obviously if you've got a smart home system, it just goes back on its astronomic clock to turning those circuits off to what it was before. And I think you're right in what you've done here is I think the end user doesn't, and even some of the professionals, your architects, your interior designers, don't understand what's possible.
They don't.
One of our friends, Dagesh, did the well house in Chelsea Harbour recently. He got it wasn't Roddy's, but he got Roddy to perforate some suede.
Yes.
And all the interior designers were like, sorry?
Yeah.
And he said, well, look, we've perforated it because then it makes it acoustically transparent.
Yeah.
And they don't even know or understand invisible speakers like you have in here from Amina. So I think that's where, I know our friend Owen over at Cinema Works, he's had architects in there. And he could sit there and say, this is why we do it this way. This is why we do it that way. So I definitely say from what I've seen here by doing the media for you, it's definitely worth popping down if you are a professional or another professional trade like an architect, interior designer, because I think some of the stuff you've got in here is really good.
And we've got really nice coffee.
And you got really nice coffee and pastries.
And pastries, which are calling out to me. But
this early start's coming to bite me back on the bum. So, I mean, obviously, we've got EI Live coming up very soon.
Yes.
Where you're going to be there with Niko. Niko obviously also sponsoring the Smart Building Awards as well. So what would you say to any because this is probably going to go out just before EI Live. So anybody in the EI community, the Essential Install community, or even the Ian's going to kill me now, so I can't remember what their other magazine's called, but the electrical magazine they've got coming out as well. What would you say to anybody coming onto the show to pop in and see Niko?
You just have to make the time to go. You know, everybody's busy. Everybody will have a client that says, I need this finished by then. And the temptation is to sort of think, oh, okay, maybe next year I'll go. But if they go now, come and see us. Niko got some really cool stuff coming out now. New software upgrades and things like that, and of course, you know, the Smart Building Awards as well. Come have a drink with us, but you know, you've just got to talk to us, pick the phone up thereafter, and you know, come and see us. But if you come and have a chat on the stand, we'll understand your needs, where you are at the moment, where you want to be, you know, and whatever solution you take has to be right for you. But come on down.
I think it's definitely worth, I mean, in my opinion, as a hi-fi AV guy, you do tend to go to these shows. One, you go to see your friends. So you spend an hour talking to Roddy. But then you also go and see the sexy stuff, you know, the big speakers and all this lot. Sometimes I know I'm guilty of it. You walk past the nice stand, you walk past the Niko stand. Oh, that's not really my thing. But
no, but you're wasting your time then, because if you're going to go and see the person that you talk to day in, day out, or week in, week out, or you go and see, you know, something that looks sexy, but you're probably never going to sell, you know, in the next 12 months maybe, then, you know, yes, you can say you've been there, but what are you actually bringing away from that show? So, come and see us.
I think a friend of mine, Rob from Maven, every time I see him at a show, he is one of the only people I know, he will go to every single stand and see every single person. And I've said to him before, blimey, you're busy. He said, well, I'm here for the day, I might as well see everything. And I think actually, go and see the brands that you don't necessarily know, because you might find something you really enjoy. So, closing up, anything else you want to touch on before we draw to a close?
He's put me on the spot now.
Obviously, Cost of Cancer, Nikki's charity. Obviously, you've got the other charities that you sponsor out there. You've got a kids' football team you sponsor as well.
Yeah. There's a local kiddies football team, the under sevens. You know, there's a lot of people in the industry that do a lot of good for, you know, and they volunteer, and you know, Peter Alloway and the, you know.
Well, we've got Together for Cinema. We've got the bike ride coming up soon. Which I'm doing.
You're going to have to cut that.
50 of us in Together for Cinema. Don't worry, someone on Smart Home this morning called him Ian Kitchener, and it's like, no, it's Ian Morris. But we've got the charity bike ride coming up, London's Brighton Bike Ride, which again I've signed up for after the worst cramp of my life last year.
Did you?
And then obviously you can see some of the stuff they do because they've got some really cool little media rooms that they've put into children's hospices and things like that.
Yes, yeah.
And yeah, I think you're right. There are many people that you will see who are, you know, area reps for businesses. They are installers, they are integrators. You know, people like they volunteer on the side to do other stuff. Say like Peter with his football and things like that. So I think this is a brilliant industry, and I think come to EI Live, come and speak. Obviously, to get in touch with you directly, website addresses again to put you on the spot.
mostech.co.uk and homecontrol.uk.com, or they can phone the office.
Excellent.
So
well, look, thank you for your time. And I think it's about time we put the kettle on and went and had some pastries.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Kettle? We don't have kettles here.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Too posh for kettles.
Too posh for kettle.
Yeah.
We've got to cook it up.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks for your
Cheers,
time.
mate. Thanks.
Cheers, mate.